shoe. Who else could it be but your man Lou? Yeah.
And overtime.
Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie T? Welcome to Sunday Night Football Overtime. Chiefs, Bengals, the Kansas City Chiefs absolutely destroyed the Cincinnati Bengals tonight, 45-10, in a game that for the better part of 3 quarters wasn't competitive at all. I thought the Bengals had a chance early in the first quarter. They had some drives that maybe could have turned the direction of this game in a totally different direction. Obviously, they didn't get it done early. The Chiefs are one of those types of teams where they give you some chances early. You better take full advantage. That's what you saw in this game. Early on, the Chiefs, they weren't having their way with the Bengals like they normally do with teams early in football games. They generally score on the first possession. They didn't do that tonight. So right there, you had an opportunity, but you make some mistakes. You got the whole punt situation where I don't think it was supposed to be any kind of fake. I don't know what Clayton Fledgulum was doing and why he interfered with the football, but nonetheless, you give them a short field as if they need any help from you. You just miss opportunities. You got Kareem Hunt bottled up. Somehow you allow him to get away, hurdle a guy, drag another 3 defenders inside the 15-yard line, and then 2-3 plays later, you let him catch it right by the end zone and get into the end zone. It was just a rough night for the Bengals defensively, and I've talked about this. And look, let me state my position on Cincinnati before we get deep into this breakdown. I still think the Cincinnati Bengals are a playoff team. I still think 3 teams are coming out of the AFC North division. You know how I feel about the AFC North. Despite Baltimore losing today, despite Cincinnati getting their ass handed to them tonight, I still think this division is good enough to qualify 3 teams for the playoffs when it's all said and done. Now, the wild card in the bunch is the Chargers. If the Chargers are able to continue to play the brand of football they played today, and they could have easily lost the game today, probably should have lost that game. They were dominated thoroughly in the second half of that game by Tennessee. But nonetheless, if the Chargers can continue to find ways to win, and you're not going to play the Titans every week, you're not going to play the Raiders every week, even though they do get to play the Raiders once more. You're not going to play some of the teams they've already had success against this year. The Browns, they've beaten up on a lot of bad teams, have the Chargers. I want to see what the Chargers do when the level of competition is heightened and how they perform in those situations, because I still don't believe in the Chargers, which is why I still think a team like Cincinnati, a team like Baltimore, and the Pittsburgh Steelers, until somebody pronounces them dead, are going to make the playoffs out of this division. So right now, 2 teams are coming out of the North. I can assure you of that. Whether it's Baltimore, Cincinnati, and Pittsburgh and Baltimore, I can't tell you the 2 for sure. Right now, I can't tell you this. Baltimore will be one of those teams. I will tell you that right now. I can't tell you who the other team will be for certain, but I will say that there will be 2 teams coming out of the North. Will there be a third? I am in the school of thought that there will be a third and final AFC North team in the playoffs, and I think that team most likely will be the Cincinnati Bengals, because I think when it's all said and done, the Steelers will have a better record than Cincinnati, but that's nor here nor there. Bottom line is, said all of that to say this. I don't think any less of Cincinnati because of what I saw tonight. I didn't expect them to go into Arrowhead and win. I didn't think they were a better team than Kansas City. And so they got their asses handed to them. So did Pittsburgh, even though Pittsburgh made it a ball game in the second half. This is what the Chiefs do. If you're not sound on defense, which the Bengals are not, okay? We've seen the Bengals give it up against teams this season. I told you a couple of weeks ago that the Bengals have one of the worst third down defenses in all of football. That will get you beat 9 times out of 10, all right? I watched them against Atlanta about 3 weeks ago when they were able to go into the Mercedes-Benz Dome and win. It was a classic shoot 'em up, bang, bang type of game. Last team with the ball wins. Cincinnati was fortunate enough to have it late in the game, and they scored with about 10 seconds left, and they won that football game on an A.J. Green. It's A.J. Green touchdown from Dalton, but make no mistake about it. Those were 2 of the worst third down defenses in the league playing against each other, and it showed in that game, which is why it was a shootout. Cincinnati is a terrible third down defensive football team, which I can't really explain it because they've got enough pass rushers. They've got interior pass rush. They've got solid cornerbacks. They've got a good enough nucleus defensively to not stink on third down, yet that's where they found themselves among the worst in the league on third downs. You can't stop teams on third downs. You're going to give up points. You give up points, you're going to lose football games against the better teams. They have a good enough offense to be able to score against the lesser teams and win, i.e. Miami last week, give up 17 early, run off 27 straight, win that game. You're good enough to do that against the lesser teams in this league. But when you play the better teams, like Kansas City, like a New England, like a Baltimore, like a Pittsburgh, you can't afford to give it up on third downs or you're going to lose. We saw it last week against Pittsburgh where they had opportunities to get off the field late in the game. They couldn't do it. Why? Because they can't get off the field on third downs. And against an explosive offense like Kansas City, you can't get off the field. How many third downs did they have early in the game, did the Chiefs, and they convert and keep drives alive and ultimately score touchdowns? That's what gets you beaten in this league. You can get off. Look, we talk about the Chiefs defensively and how bad they stink, and yes, they do stink, especially against the run. However, for as bad as they are defensively, guess what they do? They get off the field on third downs. You get off the field as a third down defensive unit, you're going to have a chance to win in this league because third downs are the money down both ways, offensively and defensively. You can get off the field on third downs. You're going to give yourself a chance. And with the Chiefs offense, if you can just get the ball back to them, hell, they'll take it anywhere. They'll take it from the 2, their own 2, go 98 yards. They'll take it from the other team's 2 or other team's 42 or their own 42 or their own 12. It doesn't really matter where you give this offense the football right now. They're liable to score from any point on the field. So all the Chiefs defensively have to do is find a way to get off the field. And the beauty of what they do is because the offense and their special teams is putting so much pressure on the opposition, you fall behind early. You want to know why the Chiefs really are the best third down, one of the better third down defenses in the league? You want to know why? Because they're getting out to such big leads. It's making teams one-dimensional. Their biggest flaw right now, they can't stop the run. But who's running a football when you're down 24-3, 5 minutes into the second quarter, you're already down 3 touchdowns? Who's running the ball still at that point? So now you're taking the biggest deficiency the Chiefs have, and you're making that one deficiency go away, and you're giving them a chance to put you in 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, 3rd and 11. Yeah, they're going to get off the field. Even if they give up their fair share of those, there are many more 3rd and 9s, 3rd and 11s, 3rd and 7s coming your way. A healthy dose that they're going to be able to win their fair share of matchups there, get off the field. And so the Chiefs are in a really good spot right now because offensively, there's so many weapons. I've talked about this before. I've talked about their secondary and third options down the road can hurt you just as bad as their primary options. I mean, you look at their secondary options and Demetrius Harris. I've talked about him. When he's not dropping the football, he's dangerous. He's just as dangerous as Travis Kelce from an athletic standpoint. Now, Travis Kelce is a much better route runner, much better overall football player, better understanding of zone, man, how to set up guys and win and those types. But Demetrius Harris, if you're talking athlete, he may be a much better athlete than Travis Kelce when it's all said and done. Those basketball players as tight ends are uber dangerous. Then you look at Demarcus Robinson out of Florida. The guy can run. So he's one of those dudes similar to Chris Conley. He can run. So if you fall asleep behind the wheel, this guy's behind your secondary by 5 yards. So he can hurt you with speed. Then you look at some of the other guys on this team. Spencer Ware comes in, and out of nowhere, Spencer can catch it out of the backfield. Spencer can run it a little bit. They didn't even have the Black Mamba tonight, DeAnthony Thomas. They don't even know what to do with DeAnthony Thomas. They just put him out there whenever the hell they feel like it, whenever they feel like having fun. He's a little banged up right now, but when they throw him into the mix, he's a guy that can hurt you as well. They've got so many options in Kansas City, it's not even funny. And so when you've got a guy like Travis Kelce going, you've got Kareem Hunt killing you out of the backfield. And what people fail to realize about Kareem Hunt, not only is that he's a really good running back, the man catches the football just as well out of the backfield, so he can hurt you in that department. We saw that tonight. The first 2 touchdowns of the game scored by the Chiefs, both Kareem Hunt receiving touchdowns, so he can hurt you through the air. Obviously, Tyreek Hill is the ultimate X factor that we have in this league right now. He's a difference maker. Anytime he touches it, he's slated to go much faster than slow. Special teams. kickoffs, punts, a slip screen, a jet sweep, anything, a slant, a 9-ball, a post. Anytime he touches it, he's likely to go. You hold your breath if you're the opposition because the guy is uber dangerous. And so just those 2 or 3 weapons right there in Hunt, Kelsey, and Hill are enough to scare any defense. Then you throw in Samuel Watkins, and all of a sudden you're looking around and you're saying, damn, look at this Chiefs offense go. And again, the conductor is Patrick Mahomes and what he brings to the table. It's just a scary team right now. And again, if they get anything out of their defense, any kind of contribution defensively, you probably could wrap this thing up. This division is won as far as I'm concerned. The lone threat to the Chiefs in the division is the Denver Broncos, and the Denver Broncos. I'm hearing that they're having a fire sale right now. If you approach the Denver Broncos with some sense, I'm hearing you could have Demaryius Thomas potentially. You could have Eman Sand. I wouldn't mind getting my hands on Eman Sand. I'd love for the Redskins to pick up the phone and ask John Elway what he's looking for Emmanuel Sanders. I'd love to add him to the collection of stuff we have at receiver. I think that guy's the best route running wide receiver in all of football. I'd take Emmanuel Sanders on my team, not now, like right now. So I'm hearing you can pick up the phone and call and ask about him. I'm hearing you could get Chris Harris Jr. if you need help at corner, that he's potentially on the block. They look like they're trying to start over. And so there's no competition in that division. They'll have the AFC West locked up by week 11. That division is that bad, and they'll have that thing sewn up by about week 11. I'd say going into week 12, a win or a loss by any team in the division, and they probably have the thing sewn up like a tailor. Relatively easy like Jerry Heller. So I'm assuming that division is already spoken for. Now the question is, can they get the number 1 seed? The only team I think they're going to have to fight for with that is the Patriots. But how many more games are the Chiefs really going to lose this year? That's the real question. I would imagine maybe 1 or 2. I can't see them losing any more than 3 games this year. They got to play the Rams, so we assume that's going to be one hell of a matchup. I think they got to play the Seahawks. Obviously, if they're playing the Rams, then they got to play that entire division. I'd assume that if that game's in Seattle, and I don't know where it is, I don't know where the Rams game is. The Rams game actually is over in Mexico. It's Mexico City on a Monday night, so that's going to be a very, very Los Angeles Rams partial crowd, as it should be. It's a Rams home game, so I don't know where if the Seattle game is in Seattle, then they have a chance to lose that game. If it's in Arrowhead, then there's no way they lose to the Seahawks. They're not going to lose to Arizona or San Francisco. They've already beaten San Francisco, as a matter of fact. That's the game Jimmy G lost his ACL in. But I said all of that to say this. I don't see anybody else in their division beating them. The toughest game that they had left in the division, they've already played it. That was on the road at Denver on a Monday night, and they found a way to win that game. Easily could have lost, probably should have lost, but they didn't. So I don't see them losing against Oakland in either venue, home or away. I don't see them losing to the Chargers in Arrowhead. They had a chance. Did the Chargers earlier in the season. First game of the season, as a matter of fact, they went there and they smoked those boys. So I don't see them losing any game in the division. I don't see them losing to any other NFC West opponent other than Los Angeles, unless the Seattle game is in Seattle. Then that game becomes a question mark. But outside of that, you've already played New England. You've already played Pittsburgh. Who's the other division winner? Jacksonville. You've already played Jacksonville. Who else is going to stop you from winning 13 games this year, getting a number 1 seed? And if you get the number 1 seed in the end, the only team that can beat you out in the AFC is New England. And I think if you can somehow get a home game against New England, I think you got a real. And I know you can go to New England and win. I know you're not afraid to do that. You did it last year, week 1. I understand that. And I know that you, in the playoffs a couple of years ago, gave New England everything they could handle and then some. I know you're perfectly fine with going on the road and finding a way to get it done versus New England in Foxborough. But why? Why would you want to do that when you could go and have a home game and make the AFC road to the Super Bowl in Atlanta come through Arrowhead? That's the easiest way for you to find a way to get it done. So if that game against Seattle is in Seattle, that could be a loss. If the game against the Rams is a loss, I can't see you losing to anybody else. 13-3 is the worst I see you doing if you can stay healthy. The biggest question I have leaving this game, this is a serious question that I have. Why the hell were the starters still in the game with 10 minutes left in a 45-10 ass thrashing? You seriously want Samuel Watkins, who is injury prone, to go and catch a pass over the middle with 8 minutes left and potentially get a concussion? I saw him flexing his jaw and readjusting his helmet and looking around like, hey, am I in outer space? What are you doing? Take these guys out. Patrick Mahomes should have been out of the game. Samuel Watkins should have been out of the game. Travis Kelce was still running around. You can't afford to lose these guys. You're destroying the Bengals. They are lifeless. This game is over. They've waved the white flag. Why are these guys even in the game right now? That's the only takeaway from this game is, the hell are you doing at 45-10 with your starters still in the game? Get these guys the hell out of here. This should have been a preseason game at that point. Get all the young guys in here, get them some experience. So that's my only gripe from the game. You ran it tonight. You protected Patrick Mahomes. Everybody got involved. You ran up the score like you're supposed to against a team that can't stop a wet paper towel on third downs. And you took advantage of some of their mistakes, a pick six by Ron Parker. You got a muffed punt situation. I don't know what the hell Clayton Fledulum was thinking there. You took advantage of every opportunity that was given to you in this ball game. Good for you. You hit Andy Dalton early in the game. He fumbles the football. Good for you. They can't protect the football. If they can't play sensible ball on the road in a hostile environment against the best team in the AFC or one of the best teams in the AFC, then they deserve to get their brains bashed in 45-10. Good for you for not having any mercy on the opposition. If they can't take care of themselves, you do it for them. And that's exactly what you did to Cincinnati tonight, 45-10. I've seen all I need to see from this Chiefs football team. I know who they are as a football team. I know what their weaknesses are. I know what their strengths are. The only wild card for this football team is if they can get a healthy Eric Berry and a healthy Justin Houston back. What does that do for a defense that right now we all think is trash? What does that do? Does that do anything? Does that move the needle at all? Those additions of healthy bodies that are elite when they're at their best, are they even elite anymore? I'm looking at Justin Houston, and at times he looks like a shell of himself. If he's healthy, is he still Justin Houston, or is he just Justin Houston? There's a big difference. Eric Berry, I don't even know that guy anymore. Who is Eric Berry? Anyway, I don't know what Eric Berry brings to the table anymore. I haven't seen him in 6 years. So I can't tell you if Eric Berry is a true difference maker or not. But that's the only caveat left with this Chiefs football team. I know what they are as a run defense. I know what they are as a pass defense. They've got limitations at both. I know what they are as a third down defense, but I know that their third down efficiency is somewhat skewed because of the fact that they're up big in a bunch of games. We saw last week that their third down defense wasn't worth a damn last week. Why? Because they couldn't stop New England, and that game wasn't a blowout, and they weren't one-dimensional, and New England could do a little bit of both. Speaking of New England, they just possibly lost their best running back for the entire season, so that changes the dynamic. And again, it's still New England. They're going to camouflage. If Sony Michel, PlayStation, is out for the rest of the season, the next man will just step up, and they'll just keep the train going. They may even make a trade. Who's to say? They know that the window potentially is closing in New England. They know they only got 2 or 3 more years to maximize what has been the most dominant dynasty we've seen in the NFL's history. They understand what's at stake. So if they got to go out and trade for a Le'Veon Bell, if they got to go out and trade for a Shady McCoy, they may be willing to do so. We know Belichick has never been scared to give up a first-round pick for something that he believes will help his team get over the top. We've seen it done before, and we may not have seen the last of it. I can't see them trading for either one of those guys, but let's say a second-tier back, like a Carlos Hyde that we just saw move from Cleveland to Jacksonville. Let's say that one of those kind of secondary backs is available that they think is a good football player, and they can have him for a third or a fourth or a fifth-round pick. Don't think for one second the Patriots won't make a move depending on the extent of that Sony Michel PlayStation injury. I hope he's okay, but it looked gruesome. It looked like he tore some shit. We'll find out a lot more tomorrow as to whether this guy is out for the remainder of the season or if he's just going to be out for the foreseeable future. Stay tuned for that. But that's going to also determine some things because with that dominant run game, allowed the Patriots to be extremely balanced. You take Sony Michel out of that mix, and all of a sudden now they're not as dynamic offensively. Still, it's still Brady. It's still Gronk. There's still Josh. Flash! Gordon! There's still the whole crew that can get you at any time. And then, like I said, they still got White in the backfield. Rex Burkhead will come back, and he'll start to do some things. They use Kenjon Barner in this game. I mean, look, they'll do whatever they need to do. We know what the Patriots are about. So back to the Chiefs, though. I know what they are as a run defense. I know what they are as a pass defense. I know what they are as a third down defense, okay? If you stay in the game with them, their third down defense isn't as advertised. You allow them to make you one-dimensional, their third down defense will be exceptional, as you saw tonight. So I know what they are as a defense as a whole. I know what their special teams looks like. Harrison Butker is a beast as a field goal kicker. So if you get into a field goal kicking spat with them, they can beat you that way. We know their special teams is dynamic, whether it's the Black Mamba getting you or it's Tyreek Hill. They can get you from any. They had a no-name dude back there last week bust off a 97-yarder. They've got speed everywhere. They can hurt you on special teams in any number of ways. So special teams is dynamic. And then the offense. I've already chronicled the offense. They can run it. They can throw it. They've got weapons everywhere. They've got multiple tight ends that can hurt you. They've got 5 or 6 receivers deep that they can hurt you with. Chris Conley's a guy that we never talk about, but he can run just as fast as anybody outside of course, Tyreek Hill on that roster. He's a blazer, so they can hurt you in a multitude of ways at the receiver position. They go about 5 or 6 deep there. And then obviously the running back position, they've got so many guys at running back. Even Spencer Ware is a guy that, again, we don't talk about, but he can come in and hurt you too. Remember, he was the starter before he hurt himself last year, and that opened the door for what was to be the Kareem Hunt show. And so he's a guy that can do some things. So we know what the Chiefs are as a football team. I don't think that's going to change over the next, 10 weeks of the season. I know who the Chiefs are as a football team. I'm staring at a 13-3 football team with the potential to be 14-2 if they can take care of Seattle. And the Rams, they could be 15-1. I just don't see anybody else in the AFC beating them. They lost to the one team that I think is capable of beating them in the AFC. If they were to play Pittsburgh again, that's the one team that I think also and Baltimore. Don't count Baltimore out. That's another team that I think if they had a shot at them, and I'm trying to think. I don't know if they play the AFC North this year. I'm trying to think of what division is playing the AFC North. I don't think it's the AFC West. Either way, Baltimore is another intriguing team. If you ask me the 3 teams in the AFC that has a realistic and legitimate shot at beating the Chiefs, I tell you it's New England, and in this order, New England, Baltimore, Pittsburgh. In that order. But they've already played all of the division winners from last year. They've already played all of the teams that I think in the AFC that could actually beat them. Now it's just about a matter of Kansas City and Seattle. After those 2 teams, I think that they could easily be 15-1 if they took care of business there. I expect them to lose to at least one of those teams, if not both of those teams. But we will see. Those will be interesting matchups down the road. As far as Cincinnati is concerned, I know who they are as well. It's a damn shame that injuries may ultimately decide their season. They had no Darqueze Dennard tonight. Not to say that he was going to make that big of a difference, but injuries, they do start to mount. John Ross is never right, but when he's right, he changes the dynamics of this offense greatly. Tyler Eifert's injury, I talked about that. I know he wasn't having the Tyler Eifert-esque year, but he's still a threat, and he was such a big presence in their offense, just being there, just being on the field, and having him be a guy that you have to pay attention to. Take him, and that's not to take anything away from C.J. Uzama or any of Tyler Croft or any of the other tight ends. They're just not him. They can't do the things that he does. So that hurts, that not having him, not having Gio Bernard and putting all of the emphasis on Joe Mixon, who I love, and I think he changes their offense dynamically. But still, Gio Bernard is a nice changeup. He does bring another element to the game, and he's been banged up of late. So they've just got to get healthy. They've got to be better on defense, on third downs especially, but they can't have mistakes. They're not a good enough football team to make mistakes and still win. They lost to Carolina. Why? Because they made mistakes. They made mistakes. If they can cut out the mistakes, they're a dangerous team in the AFC. I still think Cincinnati is one of 6 playoff teams in the AFC. Again, the Chargers are the one team that could make that subject to change. I don't believe in the Chargers. I do believe, however, in this Bengals football team, and that's why I'm sticking with my assessment that 3 teams are coming out of the AFC North. Until someone proves me wrong or tells me otherwise, I don't believe the Chargers are coming out of the AFC West. I think the Chiefs are going to be the lone team in that division. And I think I misspoke. I'm sorry. Earlier, I talked out of turn. I said that the biggest threat to the Chiefs in the AFC West was the Broncos. It's the Chargers. I'm sorry. I apologize. Chargers are 5-2. They're right there. They're a game behind them. But again, I told you, I think that's a false positive. I look at them, they're 5 wins. They might have a combined record of 3-11-1. You know, I don't know what the combined record is of the teams they've beaten this year, but it's not good. They beat the Raiders. They're a 1-win team. They beat the Browns. They're a 2-win team. They beat the Dolphins. Did they beat the Dolphins? Did they play the Dolphins? I'm not sure about that one. They beat the Titans. They're a 3-win team, but, I mean, those 3 wins, they seem so long ago. And the Titans, I just don't know. I don't know what to make of the AFC South division either. I'm rambling right now. Let's get to some comments. And Redskins fans, I know you're excited, but let's not try to turn this into a Redskins show. This is not a Redskins show. I'm excited just like you are, but we're not going to turn this into a Redskins show. All right? Be excited. Celebrate. I'm telling you, I'm excited just as much as you are. It was a big win, but we're not going to turn this into a Redskins show. Just so you know. I'm just going to tell you right off the bat because I know there's a ton of you guys out there, a lot of Redskin comments, just scrolling up and down. We're not turning this into a Redskins show. We'll do all of that on Tuesday and then some, and we'll be excited then. But, yeah, let's talk about the teams that played tonight and some of the other games from around the league. But nonetheless, Atlas says Chiefs are something special right now, but I don't know if I totally buy in. I understand why you don't totally buy in. I get it. They don't do enough defensively, and don't allow tonight to kind of cloud your judgment on the Chiefs as a defensive football team. They're not as good as they perceived, or they're not as good as they put off tonight. All right, don't allow what you saw tonight to sway you in the direction of, man, look at this Chiefs football team defensively now. All of a sudden, no. Tonight was an aberration. Last week, what you saw against the Patriots is more along the lines of what this team is defensively than what you saw tonight. So keep that in mind as well. Vincent Coe says, most likely the Steelers broke the Bengals last week. I don't know if it's fact, but the Bengals always suck after taking L's for the Steelers. I don't know that to be a fact either. I can't confirm nor deny that. I know that loss hurt. And they were, whether they won last week or not, they weren't going to beat the Chiefs this week. They just weren't. They're not better than the Chiefs. They weren't coming into Arrowhead and winning. So I don't think that had anything. That could have been somewhat of a hangover and a little bit of that effect going on. But I don't think they were going to win this game regardless. Bottom line is Cincinnati is good enough to get into playoffs, but they're not better than the other teams that will be in the playoffs with them. They won't be better than any of the division winners. That includes whoever wins the South. I don't think they'll be better than Houston if they win it. If Jacksonville gets back on their horse and win, I don't think they're going to be better than Jacksonville when Fournette comes back. They're not going to be better than the Chiefs, obviously, as we saw tonight. They're not going to be better than whoever wins their division, which I think it's ultimately going to be Baltimore when it's all said and done, unless Pittsburgh gets back on their horse. And they're not better than the Patriots, obviously. So they're not better than the other teams that they'll be in the playoffs with if they were to make it. But they're a good enough football team to make it to the postseason. Enrique Valencia says, have you watched your draft from the 27 draft crush, he says, from the 2017 NFL draft, a.k.a. Marlon Mack. The man has been a beast the past 2 weeks. Watch out. I saw he was doing work against the Bills. And the Bills, I told you, the Bills may stink, but their defense does not. The Colts went off on them this week. I told you Marlon Mack, when his biggest problem is health. Hasn't been able to stay healthy. If he stays healthy, he's a dynamic football player, one that I wanted my Redskins to take last year in the draft. So I know what Marlon Mack is about. Now it's just about him staying healthy so that he can prove to everybody else what he's about. Young Mello says, we took care of the Eagles for you today. You're welcome, LOL. Hashtag Panther Nation. I'm forever grateful for the gift you gave us today because I watched that game. It was on locally where I am. And you guys were lifeless for 3.5 quarters. And with 8 minutes left, Cam Newton shifted it into high gear. And for some reason, I can't explain, the Eagles offensively went into the tank. They went to sleep. They thought they had won the game at 17-0. And slowly but surely, the Panthers got back into that football game. And I knew once you got it to 17-14, I told my girl, she was watching the game with me, I said, you were down 17-6 at the time. I said, they're going to score a touchdown. They're going to get the 2-point conversion. It's going to be a 3-point game. And if the Eagles trip on this next set of downs and give it right back to them, the Panthers are going to go down and win this football game. And wouldn't you know, you scored the touchdown. You got the 2-point conversion. You cut it to 3. The Eagles tripped on the next set of downs. and gave it right back to you. And I said, they're going to go down and they're going to win this game. And what did you do? You went down and won the game. Only thing that I thought you may have done was I thought you may have scored too quickly because you left a minute on the clock and gave the Eagles back the football with about 2 timeouts or so. And your defense allowed them to move it down the field, but you didn't allow them to get in the end zone. And you got to Wentz on a 4th down. And that was a big defensive stand by your defense to keep them out of the end zone and preserve the victory. So, yes, I am grateful for your Panthers taking care of the Eagles because that was a game I fully expected the Eagles to win. They have owned you over the last 3 seasons or so. So I just fully expected them to continue that trend. But you guys went in there and you bucked that trend, and it did not look like that was going to be the case for 3.5 quarters. Appreciate it. Big time. Cloud says, Kansas City be catching bodies, man. Bengals are a quality team. Exactly. That's what I want people to understand leaving this game is that don't think for 1 second that the Bengals are bums. They're a quality football team, man. The Chiefs are just that good right now. They're seriously that good. And although I don't believe in them defensively, God damn it, man. If you're not careful and you're down 27 to 6 early, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Their defense now can just tee off. Their offense, they're not. The one thing I love about them, they don't take their foot off the gas pedal, man. They've had some games where they've gotten up on teams early and they've coasted, but if they need to, they can go off and score 45 like they did tonight, like they did earlier in the season, like they did last week against New England. They can score if they need to. If they need to keep scoring, they can. So they're a dangerous football team, man. And like you said, they be catching bodies, man. The Bengals are a quality football. I couldn't have said it any better than you said it, Cloud. Quality football team. I Got Munson says, what can you say about these Chiefs? Obviously, Cincy is a better team than this. Got handled from the jump. Tyreek has to be the most exciting player in the league. I agree with everything you just said. The Chiefs. It's not what more can I say? What more can I say about the Chiefs that I haven't already said or hasn't already been said about them? The Bengals are a better football team than what we saw tonight. Tyreek Hill is the most exciting player in all of football. And this one kind of got out of hand. I thought late stages of the first into the second. Once they got that 21 I think it was 21-7 lead, I said this one isn't. The Bengals needed to do something at that point. And when they punted again, I said they're going to lose this game. Ali Side says, which team is the best right now? Until somebody beats them, I've got to go with the Rams. They look like the most complete team in football right now. Obviously, they play in one of the worst divisions in football, so that's going to allow them, like today, going to allow them to whoop some ass and make them look impressive. But I want to see them, what they do against the Chiefs. You know, I want to see what they do in some of these situations. They got Seattle one more time, and that was an entertaining ball game there, and it was close. That was right now the closest they've come to losing this season. So obviously, when they get out against some of these other teams that I think can actually give them a little bit of a run, because I thought the Broncos hung tough with them. Even though I never thought they were in danger of losing that game, the Broncos hung with them. So obviously, you put better competition in front of them, they can be a team that can be pushed, challenged, and potentially lose a game. I just don't think they're going to have enough of those games on their schedule. Obviously, with Philadelphia struggling the way that they are, that looked like that was going to be a clash of the Titans. Now, that looks like a very winnable game for the Rams. We saw what they did to the Vikings. That was a close nip-and-tuck game, but they scored 38 on the Vikings and won that game. But they needed a damn near perfect performance from the Goffense. So, again, I want to see the Rams in some situations where they're uncomfortable. They haven't been uncomfortable enough this season. Too many games against the 49ers and the Cardinals and teams that we know they can beat up and handle. A game against the Raiders, a game against the Chargers. These are teams that they can handle. I want to see them in some games where they're tough opponents that you know they're going to have a struggle with. And so right now, for me, the best team in the league is the Rams. Not too far behind are the Patriots and these Chiefs that you saw tonight. Let's see. RG3 hashtag says, I'm still in shock that Justin Tucker missed the extra point. When they lost the game, I was watching the Redskins-Cowboys game, obviously. That game was on my television set, so I didn't know. But I was keeping tabs of the score down at the bottom, and I saw that they had scored the touchdown. So I just automatically thought that game was either going to overtime or if Drew Brees got it with enough time, he was going to go down and put them in field goal range and potentially hurt their heads at the end. And when I saw they lost the game 24-23, I said, oh, they must have went for 2. They must have went for the gusto. They wanted no parts of New Orleans in overtime. And so they went for 2. They were at home. They were feeling themselves. And they decided, let's just go for the win right now. And I know John Harbaugh can be somewhat of a gambler at times. And so I thought that's what the situation was. And to come and find out that it was a Justin Tucker missed extra point, I was blown away. I was like, are you serious? Yeah, everyone was shocked. Everyone just assumed that's 7 points. It's Justin Tucker. Their touchdowns count for 7, not 6. And so he showed that he was mortal today. He missed an extra point, and we're just not accustomed to seeing that. John Perez says, Jags got beat by Houston today, and reports are coming out that the team is fighting with each other, and there's also a video of opposing fans fighting in the stands. Look, I'm going to tell you straight up like this. This is what happens when you've got a bunch of alpha males, and we know the Jags are one of the most outspoken teams in the league with Jalen Ramsey and Ngakoue, a guy that I love, and Yannick Ngakoue, Dante Fowler Jr. These are all alpha males with very big personalities. When shit is right, they're going to have fun in the locker room. They're going to be a dangerous team on the football field. You're going to see all of those good vibes spill onto the field. But when shit is going wrong and when things start going south, that's when you see teams that are volatile like the Jaguars. That's when you see in the fighting and things start to manifest themselves and into the locker room, onto the field. They're not right now. And I think they are one player away from fixing all of what's going on. They get Fournette back. I've said on my podcast numerous times, they're fine talent-wise. They just need Fournette back. I thought they could get away with Fournette missing a few games. He's been gone for way too long. They need Fournette back, and once he comes back and they balance things out, the defense can settle back in, and I think they'll be okay. But if he keeps missing games and this ship keeps sinking, by the time Fournette gets back and he's healthy, it may be too late for them because all of a sudden now Houston is hot. They've won 4 straight. Now they lead the division. Just a mere month ago, the Texans were 0-3, left for dead, and we were looking at Bill O'Brien like, do you want to get fired? Now, 4 weeks later, they're 4-3. They're atop that division, and Bill O'Brien looks like he's safe again. It's crazy how this league can turn on a dime. Emperor Meat says, so whose offense do you think is better, Chiefs or Rams? 11-19 when the Chiefs go to play L.A. He says the Rams are going to be primetime TV streaming. Yeah, so that game is in Mexico City. Remember that. That's on a Monday night. ESPN is already starting to preview that game as if they don't have about 5 Monday night games before we even get anywhere close to that game. But that's how excited they are about that game. But you asked me a question before that. Who is the more explosive offense between the two? If you're asking me for the balance, I would take the Rams offense because I think Gurley is better than Hunt. I think that Jared Goff and Mahomes are somewhat of a wash right now. I think that you could argue Mahomes will ultimately be better than Goff, but right now Goff is more experienced and Goff is just as good when he's in a zone as we saw on that Thursday night versus Minnesota, that he can be a very good quarterback and put the football wherever he wants to on the football field. So I think that's a wash. You look at the receivers, I think that you could argue the Rams have a better collection of receivers than that of the Chiefs. Obviously, Tyreek Hill is better than Brandon Cooks, which you're one-on-one. Cooks isn't that far behind, but Hill is in another dimension. But I think the rest of that group with Kupp and Woods and all of those guys supersede anything else the Chiefs have. That includes Samuel Watkins. So from that standpoint, edge goes to the Rams. Then when you get to the tight end position, obviously the Chiefs have the edge there. But I think if you're talking balance, I'll take the Rams. But if you're talking explosiveness, the ability to score in one play, one hitter quitter, as we call it, I got to go with the Chiefs. The Chiefs can, with Tyreek Hill and his dynamic ability, touch it anywhere on the field and score at any time. Kelsey is another one of those guys who can get you for a 50-yard chunk like he did tonight on a simple flat route where he was just looking to get a first down, stiff arms a guy, gets a great block from Chris Conley, and up the sideline he goes, and next thing you know, it's a 40-yard game by a tight end in a 3rd-and-1 situation. That's how explosive they are. And then Kareem Hunt, like I said, he's a dynamic football player as well that you can't sleep on. Samuel Watkins can be that way. DeMarcus Robinson, Chris Conley, both speed guys that can hurt you over the top. So Explosiveness, the edge goes to the Chiefs. All around balance, I'll take the Rams over the Chiefs. Reese says, "Hey, congratulations on your team's win. Have you watched the Bucs game? One of the craziest games I've ever witnessed." I watched the end of that game. I got the end of the fourth quarter into overtime, and I thought you guys were going to lose that football game after Jameis threw that pick, and they cut us off right after Jameis threw the pick. So we were assuming the Browns were going to get in the field goal range, and you guys were going to lose the game. But in typical Browns fashion, they found a way to piss away that opportunity. I don't know what happened. Of course, I'm going to watch over the next 24 hours, and I'll be able to break all of it down on lockdown coverage. But I didn't see what happened. But yes, that was a crazy game. The ending, at least, is all the parts that I've seen. It was a wacky game for sure. Vincent Coe says, another Nuke versus Ramsey matchup today. Always lit when those two go against each other. I saw Nuke with a crazy one-hand grab on down the sideline. So that's going to be fun. I can't wait to turn that on and see what those two were talking about today. Angry Birds of Chaos says, my Texans on top of the AFC South division, even after a bad start to the season, if we can get any consistency on offense, watch out. He said, okay, I need to stop being cocky, knock on wood. I get it, bro. And, you know, I'm a huge Lamar Miller fan. He went and hit 100 today. He hit a C-note today. So I feel like if they can just get into a little bit of rhythm offensively as well, they can start scoring in the red zone. Deshaun Watson, looky here. No interceptions today. Good for you. See if he can't keep that up. We know that this is a football team that when they don't turn it over, when they are able to stay relatively balanced on the offensive side of the football, they've got a chance to be a dangerous football team. And so the defense is good. We've seen that. We know about that, the history there. They're a dangerous team, and they've shown it over this 4-game winning streak. Rodney Ray says, all because of Bortles. I didn't like him in the draft. I didn't like the Jags giving him an extension. I don't like him now, LOL. Happy is not my team. Look, I know there's a lot. I've been a Blake Bortles apologist for a very long time, and I remain steadfast in the assessment that if he gets the balance back, it's similar to Alex Smith in Washington. You say that's not your team. You're a Redskins fan like myself. If you took away Adrian Peterson and what he's bringing to the table right now, just imagine what we'd look like if there was no Adrian Peterson and it was just Alex Smith. You tell me if we would still be 4-2 right now and atop the NFC East division. That's essentially what happened to Blake Bortles. They took away his Adrian Peterson, and they said, hey, go win football games by yourself. If they took away Adrian Peterson from us and say, hey, Alex Smith, go win football games by yourself, we'd be 1-5 or 1-6 or 2-5 or at best 3-3 right now. We would not be 4-2. Alex Smith is not capable of winning games by himself. Neither is Blake Bortles, okay? And so everyone's killing him, and rightfully so. He's not handling this situation well with the turnovers and the mistakes, but he's not getting a ton of help from the guys on the field. As you watched against the Cowboys, there were drop passes. Guys weren't helping him, but even then, so you can't turn it over. You can't make a bad situation worse. He's not taking care of the football, but he just needs help. He needs balance. If he gets that from Fournette, if he can stay healthy, then I think Blake Bortles will be just fine. He's just going to be fine. We'll see what happens. Reese says, Louie, it hurts me to say this since we've argued about this ad nauseum for years. I'm on your side now. I've seen the like. Dirk Cutter is not the guy. I've been told you that, bro. And you knew that. In your heart of hearts, you knew after a couple of years that he wasn't the guy. But what can you do? You know, what can you do? All you can do is ride it out until they decide, until the organization decides as well he's not the guy. Scoot up a little bit. Buffalo pregame says, any chance the Bills trade for an average starting quarterback like Derek Carr or Joe Flacco? I mean, why not? Or maybe some lineman. But since we gave up Cordy Glenn, I don't see that happening. I don't see you trading for an offensive lineman. But I heard the Raiders are potentially dangling Derek Carr out there. And this is the rumor I've heard. And I don't know how true this is. And I'm going to talk about this on my podcast. So I don't want to elaborate on this too much. But I'm hearing, and the Raiders, they're a shit show right now. I told you that already. They have no idea what the hell is going on. John Gruden is going to destroy that organization from within. It's almost as if he came back for revenge against the Oakland Raiders because they traded him. And now he's like, I'm going to come back and I am going to just steal from this organization and I am going to be subversive from within. I am going to tear this organization apart. They're not even going to know what hit them, and they're going to pay me to do it all the while. I can't explain. There's really no other explanation as to why he's doing what he's doing, but Apparently, Derek Carr is going to be owed $15 million next year, which they can get from up under if they release him. And right now, if things continue to go south, they are really thinking about releasing Derek Carr. Who's the guy who's the next quarterback? Obviously, they'll be in a position to draft one, but really? I'm not saying Derek Carr is the guy, but he's the least of your problems. Why create another problem where you could try to address some of the other issues you may have on the team? But if you're Buffalo, this is my thing with Derek Carr. I'm going to save it for my podcast. I've said too much already. I don't see you trading for anybody. Point blank, end of discussion. Flacco is a guy that may be available after the season is done, but I think Flacco's going to take this team deep into the playoffs, and I don't think Lamar Jackson is ready. So I don't know if you can move on from Flacco, but it could be an Alex Smith type of situation for Joe Flacco in Baltimore next year. They're ready for the young guy to take over. Flacco's expendable. They move on from him, try to get something for him in the process, and that's how that situation goes. Same thing with Derek Carr. They're going to be in a position to draft a quarterback. If they like a guy at the top of the draft, maybe Derek Carr becomes expendable. Maybe they cut ties with him. Maybe they trade him. We'll see what happens, but that's not happening during the course of this season. I can tell you that right now. Let's see. Vincent Coe says, Keenan Allen hasn't been catching TDs for a while, just like Julio. What's with these number one wide receivers not catching touchdowns, though? Because they're number one wide receivers. You think the other team doesn't know that those are the guys that are playmakers and that they're going to try to get the football to in the red zone? Now, granted, Keenan Allen went bananas today. If you watched the game earlier, he went bananas when he was open on a corner route that he didn't get the football and that Phillip Rivers tried to force it to Mike Williams in the end zone, and Williams wasn't able to come down with the catch. They had to settle for a field goal, and he went nuts, did Keenan Allen. You know, he had a mini tirade. Love Phillip Rivers, though. Phils went over to him, hashed it out, said, look, man, know you was open, but I wasn't even working that side of the field, bro. You're going to get yours. Hang in there. I got you, bro. I know you want a touchdown. We going to get you some. Don't worry. There's plenty of these to go around. I got you. Chill. Let me handle this. So I love the fact that Phillip Rivers showed that veteran leadership, went over there and nipped that thing in the bud before it became anything more than it needed to be. So, he's not getting in the end zone. I can't explain why these guys aren't getting targets other than the fact that teams are trying to take the main guys away when you get down to the red zone. But there are actually options and other ways to get these guys the football. There are alternatives to getting these guys opportunities down in the red zone. I just don't think teams are taking full advantage of some of these players. But nonetheless, FBG says the Bengals laid an egg offensively. This Chiefs team is absolutely ridiculous. Speed everywhere, bro. Hunt is an absolute dog. 12-4, 13-3 is definitely a possibility / probability, he says. And I think 13-3 definitely within striking distance for this team. 12-4 would only happen if they wrap this division up early and they don't need the final couple of games down the stretch. Say the Patriots lose some games and they're not in distance of potentially getting the number one seed and they start resting. That's the only way I see 12-4 happening. I see the worst case scenario unless things go south. They have this ridiculous stretch where they're turning it over and the defense can't stop anybody. I can't see them being any worse than 13-3 this year. Reese says, I celebrated my 24th birthday on Thursday. My Bucks gave me a birthday present with a big dove. Happy belated birthday, man. Congratulations, bro. 24, man. What it's like to be 24, man. Enjoy that, man. Enjoy the 20s. So it's a great place to be, the 20s. So it's a nice time in life. Enjoy that and make the most of it. Don't wait till you're 30 to figure out what the hell you want to do with your life. Hopefully you're already trending in the direction that you want to go. So happy belated birthday, bro. FBG Tony says, Bengals injuries have, and I just lost my place. And let's go back up. And he says, I got to keep going up. And he says, Bengals injuries have been hurting them immensely, bro. Completely agree, especially the offensive side, fam. Yeah, those injuries have been rough on them. And you see when you come up against a team like a Chiefs team that's offensively gifted and explosive, you can't have the type of issues you had tonight with turnovers and mistakes and then some of the guys not being available tonight to perform. Yikes. Blackout B says, what it do, Lou? What up, Blackout B? Says, congratulations on the big win, dog. AT destroyed the #1 corner today. What's the knock on him now? He is on the Adam Thielen. He's on the Adam Thielen #1 wide receiver campaign tour. I'm not going to stop him. You know, I'm not going to donate any funds to the Adam Thielen #1 wide receiver campaign tour. But I will tell you that the man is a beast. And that's now, 7 straight 100-yard games to start the season. There's not much for me to say. I mean, the dude is going out and killing it every week. So you're not gonna get any negativity out of me. But I can't say that he's the #1 receiver in the league. I told you he's top 5 though. With the way he's playing ball, he's top 5 receiver in this league. Flacco says, our defense is really bad, but I feel like the season goes on will be at least competent enough to go far in the playoffs. He said, and the Chargers have lost 9 straight games to the Chiefs. Mainstream me too. Yeah. I feel like you're going to win the division. I know you own the Chargers. You beat them there. You beat them at home. It doesn't matter where you play them. You get the best of them. Even when you were struggling last year, on a Saturday night, you embarrassed the Chargers, pulled their pants down on national television and pointed at them and finished them off and won the division. You own them. You're going to win this division. Your defense is bad, but it's going to be good enough to get you where you want to go in the playoffs. The key is it going to be good enough to navigate you through the playoffs? Because everybody will be good then. You know, you won't have all of these teams that you can beat up on like the Raiders, like the Broncos, and some of the other teams, the 49ers and the Cardinals. You'll play them eventually. You won't have those types of teams you can beat up on. You're going to have to come with your A game every week in the playoffs because it's New England, it's Baltimore, it's Pittsburgh, it's these teams that can light up the scoreboard right along with you. And if you make a mistake here or there with a young team that hasn't been playoff and battle tested, you could find yourself going home a lot sooner than you want to. So you hope that your defense comes along. That would be a great help to your football team. J. Camman says, this was the hardest week of games to predict so far. I disagree, but I haven't been great predicting games. I've been great at winning football pools, but I haven't been great at predicting games. There's been so many games that I thought could go in one direction, and they've went in the opposite direction, and I've had to pay for that this year. And so it's all good. I'm willing to take them on the chin. J. Camman says, hard to see the Chiefs not getting to the AFC Championship game unless there's an injury. I definitely was wrong about Patrick Mahomes as of now. I thought Mahomes could be good, but I thought he would turn it over more than he has. That's probably been the one thing that has surprised me the most with Patrick Mahomes is that I thought he had that Brett Favre gunslinger mentality in him where he was going to just throw it up for grabs. You saw a little bit of that last week against New England. I thought there would be more of that. But I think teams haven't put enough pressure on him to force him to feel like he's got to force the issue. Last week against New England, they were down. He felt the need to make a play. I gotta do something. And when he feels like he has to be the one, like he did at Texas Tech, where he was really the only guy that could make a difference. So he felt like he had to do something. That's when you get mistakes. When he starts to put extra undue pressure on himself to go out and make a play, even when it's not there. We haven't seen that this year because they haven't been in situations where they've had to have him make plays. The Denver game was a great example of him rising above a situation where a lot was being asked of him, and he went out and he balled and he didn't make the back-breaking mistake that I thought he was going to make. That surprised me. Against New England, he made some mistakes early, but he battled his ass off late in that game and gave them a shot to win. And so I've been probably more surprised pleasantly by his lack of turnovers than anything else. I knew the guy was athletic enough to make guys miss and extend plays. I knew the arm was ridiculous. I knew the guy could throw it with accuracy when he needed to. I knew all of these things were talents and gifts that he possessed coming into the league. What I didn't think he would be able to do this quickly was take care of the football. He surprised me, and that's why the Chiefs right now are so dangerous, because not only are they explosive and have so many dynamic athletes, they're not giving you opportunities to beat them by them beating themselves. You've got to come out and beat them. They're not helping you with mistakes and turnovers, and that's been impressive to me. J. Cam Man says, should it be a Rams-Chiefs Super Bowl, but it'll probably be Pat-Saints somehow. Yeah, you never get what you ask for in this league. If there's one thing that I learned, and this goes all the way back to 1998, where I'll never live this down and I'll never allow this to die. I was supposed to get the Super Bowl of all Super Bowls. I was supposed to get Broncos and Vikings, and the Atlanta Falcons crashed the party and effed up what was supposed to be the most epic showdown of dominant football teams. The Broncos were 14-2 on the AFC side and coming off of a Super Bowl win, so they were uber confident. And the Vikings were 15-1, the most explosive offense these eyes have ever seen in my life. Chris Carter, Randy Moss in his rookie season, which was ridiculous. Robert Smith at running back. Jake Reed is a third option at receiver. They had so many guys that could hurt you offensively, and they were so explosive and dynamic, and they pissed that opportunity away in the NFC Championship game. You never get what you want. We're still waiting on a Brady and Rodgers Super Bowl that we'll never get. Just like we never got Kobe and LeBron, we'll never get Rodgers and Brady. You're not going to get Chiefs and Rams. You're going to have to take this regular season matchup and be happy about that. You're not going to get that in the Super Bowl. And God forbid that this is one of those Patriot-type games where it's 40-37 and it's a classic and we're going to yearn for that again. You're not going to get it again. We're approaching our limit here. We got 3 minutes left, so I will just skim through and try to answer as many questions as I can. J. Camman says, I know the Bills need to play Allen for 2 seasons no matter what, but there's only so much of this I can handle. We can't start, hopefully, for losses like we did with the Sabres. Bottom line is, you've invested in a young quarterback. He's got to get a chance to grow and see if he can be a guy that matures. Everybody doesn't get it right away. Like, you can't look at what Patrick Mahomes is doing, and he's not a rookie. I got to remind people that he spent a year on the sidelines behind a veteran quarterback, which is what Josh Allen should have been doing. But you pissed away that opportunity by trading away A.J. McCarron. How's that working out for you, by the way, trading away A.J. McCarron? I never understood the logic there and why you thought it was necessary. If anything, Nathan Peterman should have been on the streets, not A.J. McCarron, but that's nor here nor there. Josh Allen is a guy that needs an opportunity. Not everybody gets it right away. He could be a late bloomer in this league. We've seen guys struggle early on in their careers only to have success down the road. You got to give him an opportunity. I know it's tough to swallow, especially when you were a playoff team last year, but you did this to yourself. You should have drafted Josh Allen and still had Tyrod Taylor on your roster. I really feel that way. And Tyrod would be playing ball for you right now. You'd still be a legitimate playoff team right now instead of the bottom barrel of the league. Andrew Hernandez says Jack should have went after Teddy B, and they could have gotten him for relatively nothing. They feel good about Blake. I still feel good about Blake. I know everyone wants to dump on him right now, and I get it. But you get Fournette back and watch how things turn for the better for that Jags football team. John Perez says, what's been going on with these kickers this year? Some weeks they're great. Some weeks there's just straight up garbage can juice. That's just the nature of the league. It's that they've made it tougher on these kickers with the extra point, moving it back, and making them actually have to work for that extra point. And you just, unless you got a really good kicker, and look, Justin Tucker is a Hall of Fame kicker. Yes, I just said he's a Hall of Fame kicker. You're going to miss kicks. They happen. He missed his first career extra. Think about that. That's a 33-yard field goal every time. And the hit rate on that is supposed to be high 90s. But how many kickers have we seen miss extra points throughout their careers? He's never missed one until today. And he's had over 240 kicks, extra points in his career. I just think kickers are it's a volatile job. It's one that you're here 1 week, the next week you could be gone. It's just been one of those seasons, straight up. All right, so that is gonna do it for the show. I thank all of you guys for joining me tonight. Make sure you like the video. All right, I only got 10 likes right now. I should have no less than 30 walking out of the building tonight. Make sure you like the video. Make sure you check out Lockdown Coverage, the podcast coming your way tomorrow. So check out Lockdown Coverage as I break down all the games in the National Football League in Week 7 slate that I haven't done in some form or capacity. So no Redskin breakdown there, no breakdown of this game. I will break down, though, the Thursday night game because I didn't get a chance to break that down. I had technical difficulties, and so I wasn't able to break that game down. So I'll break that down along with the other games on the slate. But check that podcast out. Make sure you check out the Louie T Network podcast. And if you haven't already done so, go to my Twitter page, LTN Pod. Check that out and give me a follow there. That's going to be where I give you all my information from the podcast and keep you abreast of what's going on with my podcast. So at LTN Pod is the Twitter handle for my podcast channel page. So make sure you check that out and like that page if you haven't already, and follow me on that page if you haven't already done so, man. I greatly appreciate all you guys supporting the movement and showing me love, and we'll continue to cover this league like a blanket. You know your man Louie T's got you covered. And remember, if it's not your man T, it's not the best NFL coverage it could be. Big ass whooping tonight. Chiefs handed out to the Bengals 45-10. Mahomes was outstanding. Kareem Hunt was outstanding. Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, the list goes on and on. They were outstanding. But more importantly, the Chiefs' defense was outstanding tonight. I don't think that that's going to be the norm. I think it was an aberration tonight. Nonetheless, they played top-notch football as they were able to help reinforce the 45-10 ass thrashing on Sunday Night Football. Chiefs moved their record to 6-1 after the victory. Meanwhile, the Bengals dropped to 4-3 on the season. That's going to do it for me on Sunday Night Football Overtime. The Kansas City Chiefs remain dominant as they get it done 45-10 over the Bengals on Sunday Night Football. I'm your man Louie T, signing off. I'll see you guys next time. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, do so. If you haven't liked the video already, do so. If you haven't checked out the podcast, Louie T Network Podcast, on Stitcher, on Google Music Play, on iTunes, on the website, louietnetwork.net. Check that out as well. If you haven't followed me on the Twitter page at LTN Pod, go ahead and follow me there as well. I'm signing off. See you guys next time.
Louie T Network.